So episode 9, Watch Desk Podcast. We are in here with the, what do you want to call this since there was a debate last one? What do you want to call us? So first off, let's introduce yourselves. So we're going to be multiple part series rolling through our recruit class. So this time we have some guys from the air consumption / air SCBA Emergencies group in. So I'll let them introduce yourselves and then we'll kind of get into it.
I'm Lieutenant Dailey.
Lieutenant Brannen.
Lieutenant Kris Gunby.
All right. That was a great introduction, by the way.
Short and sweet.
I am from 17. So kind of the premise, this is kind of part 2. We did part 1. If you've already seen it, check it out. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. Keep rewatching it. This is going to be the continuation of all these parts. We're going to have EMS come in. We're going to have the engine cadres come in. We're going to have the truck company cadres and kind of just break down what we do in our recruit class. So we'll kind of get started. So this class is pretty new, right? This is how many times? 3? This will be the 4th.
Yeah, this will be the 4th iteration.
So tell us, this is kind of your brainchild, LT. I guess I can't say LT. There's multiple LTs here. They're all looking around right now. Lieutenant Dailey, so this is your brainchild. So let's talk about why you thought this recruit class needed that.
Well, for the record, I'll start with Chief Haley can call it whatever he wants as long as I get a 4th day. So we'll start with there. Really, it came from, I was watching a documentary on Navy SEALs, and they were going through their drown proofing program, and they were building systems to help their students be able to recover from equipment emergencies with their scubas. And it just dawned on me, we don't have anything like that. I've never been taught, when I went to the military fire academy, and I wasn't taught how to resolve any emergency with our air pack, and that's our number one, PPE.
Right.
We need that. If we don't have air, we're dead. It's game over.
Yeah.
And and it's equipment, and equipment fails, and so I started finding different resources that, Project Mayday. There's an FDNY study that I can share some numbers with that have documented that we've had equipment failures nationally, but we're not doing anything about it. And so it was, rather than present a problem, I started trying to collaborate with some of the guys, particularly these two. Like, this is a huge problem we have in our industry. What can we do to help fix this? And we started finding things and building systems in our own processes that if you have a certain emergency, you go through this system and help resolve it.
Yeah. You guys got anything to add on that? I know you guys have been here since the start. Most of these guys are all either part of the squad cadre or truck company cadre. I mean, these are all core groups of cadre people that we have here. So, yeah, definitely a need. I can say from my side, I kind of started this process when we kind of revamped the recruit class stuff. So we didn't have this, and as soon as we implemented this, it makes all of the other modules easy because you were very familiar with your SCBA by the end of this. That was like way familiar. So, I think that's a big part. That's what I take away from it is, it's physical, it's taxing. We'll get into that, but we don't have to re-show you how to use an SCBA or go over the intricacies in squad week when we're doing RIT stuff.
Definitely shows in squad week.
Yeah.
They come to squad week and they have the knowledge already. Makes things go a lot smoother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a game changer. So just quick overview. Let's do a quick overview of that part. It's usually in week 2. We do this for our recruit class. It's 3 days. Chief Haley, we need 4. So it's intense. I mean, I don't know any other way to explain. If you watch part 1, we talked about being physically fit and ready. This is a prime example. If you're not ready for this particular module of the class and you're not physically fit and ready to go, I don't know how many times we got to beat that drum for the recruit class, but I'm sure we're going to beat it again. It just doesn't. You have to. We work out in the morning, and then we go right into the modules, and then it ends the 3rd day to full scenarios of issues and problems. So let's kind of break down the days a little bit if you want to.
Yeah. The first day, they got to hear me talk for about an hour or 2. That usually ends up being 3. But as soon as we get done with that, all the instructors meet up. Outside has become a tradition on the pads so the people in this building can see the recruits working. And we go through a really rigorous workout. And from that point, we go right into the individual skills. And this is, it's systems-based. And it's progressive progressive nature of skill where we're going to teach you this skill in a very low stress environment, and then throughout these days we're going to add as they acquire these skills, we're going to add stressors, and then to that point culminating on day 3 where we have the scenarios.
Yeah.
Just building on the foundation, what they learned day 1, like day 2 and day 3, and then you just keep adding the stressors, and then they just have to do big scenarios on day 3. Everything that they learned from the last 2 days, just
they're full bore.
higher intensity.
So, so let's talk about kind of, we talked about the why and kind of your brainchild, but, let's break it down a little further than just, what you mentioned earlier. Let's break it down to the need for this class. And this isn't just a recruit class conversation, right? This is a department-wide, statewide, national breakdown of this class, because I don't really know anybody that's teaching this in a recruit school that I can think of offhand. I'm sure there people are. I'm sure we're not just blowing our horn on how great our stuff is, but like I don't see a lot of the stuff that we're actually doing. And that's what we kind of talked about in part 1 is it's a fire conference in 8 weeks. You're getting can confidence and you're getting VES and you're getting all this other stuff. And this is another aspect of that I don't think anybody's really teaching, like to recruits. You can go, and you guys travel all over the country taking classes. I mean, have you heard anybody getting any recruit class stuff like that?
Just maybe one department,
Okay.
and that's just seeing stuff
Yeah.
on Instagram.
Yeah. On the gram?
Yep.
Gram eats first.
Yep.
Always eats first.
That's where we pulled a lot of these skills is a lot of the smoke diver programs.
Right.
Why do you have to go to this elite program to learn what I think are fundamental skills in protecting yourself? And so trying to break that down and give it to the entry level firefighters and build up so that we get everybody on the street.
Yeah, and that's something that to bring up too is like we get this, and I mean I don't know how many people you think we've run through that particular course? 100?
I mean, 3 classes. This will be our fourth.
100, 120 people.
30 people a class.
Yeah, so I mean
So-
that's a pretty good amount of people
Yeah.
getting that knowledge on the street. Obviously we're looking to bring it into the department and run the department through over the next however long that's going to take.
Well, I think you make a good point is expressing the why, because one of the most frustrating things that I deal with is, well, that's never happened to me, or I've never seen that. And we have the numbers to justify the need for this program, not just for the recruits, but for the department wide. Project Mayday, I'm staring at my computer, is out of 411 Maydays, or out of their Maydays, 411 dealt with air problems. Of that, 179 were low air, 122 were out of air, 71 were face piece problems, and 39 were regulator problems. And to cycle back to the need for physical fitness, and of those that were out of air, 66% were not in their best physical condition, and 28% regularly missed SCBA training.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's
Crazy numbers, right? Like we're trying to curve the numbers early for us. Get you familiar, get you, engaged, get you physically fit. I know we keep beating that drum. It's like, it's the only thing that we can keep beating on, right? Like it's just
well, there's no denying that this is a physical job.
Yeah,
There's and
100%.
I don't know the amount of work that the fire academies have to do with what that they have to meet certain metrics for the state in a certain amount of time, and they're trying to get people through. But it just seems like sometimes people come into these recruit programs and they really don't understand the responsibilities of what it is to be a firefighter or be a first responder and what that requires. And physical fitness is especially important in Florida because fires happen in the summer in the middle of the day.
It's hot. We're recording this in the summer now, and it's ridiculous out right now.
So that I don't consider this just an SCBA module. This is kind of we were joking about it being like an INDOC course. Like we're going to indoctrinate you into the St. Johns County way while teaching you how to protect yourself if your equipment fails.
Yeah, I think that's good points. What do you got to add, LT? You're over there sitting in the corner like,
No, just taking it all in, really.
Well, to add to what Dailey's saying about the data doesn't lie. Project Mayday, it shows that when most of the Maydays, when they're called, self-rescue is the highest percentage.
Right.
So you have to know how to self-rescue yourself.
Yeah.
Or get yourself out to fix the problem. SCBA, entanglement, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's stuff like, so this is just a small part of the first one, and then we have a whole squad week, which will bring everybody back, and that's RIT, Mayday, firefighter down scenarios, and we put you through a week long. That's probably, I don't know, this course and that course are probably the toughest two parts of the module. Now, we'll bring EMS in, and we'll bring squad or truck company in, and they're going to, beat their drums, but
physically and mentally, I would say
physically,
this one and squad week.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, we push you to the max, but we want you to succeed. We're not the guys out there just trying to make you fail. That's not the purpose of this. We are gonna be there, and we want to take you to the next level. But also, you have to be ready to get to that next level. I think we talked about that a little bit in part 1 too with Chief McGee. Is you got to be ready. Like, you can't. We're not going to put you in phase 3 of this program if you're still stuck in phase 1. We have no problem washing you out. We have no problem saying this department isn't for you. Like, that's, that was kind of the message we kind of got from Chief McGee was, if you're not cutting it, you're not our standard.
Mm-hmm.
Not to put him on another throne again, but the standard is the standard, right? Like, here's our matrix, and that's what we're going to hold people accountable to. And we have washed people out before, so.
It's good that y'all are doing the PAT at the beginning.
Yeah,
So
that
then
was
you
a
have
big.
the foundation of, okay, this person needs help. This person's not. Sorry, come back at a later time. And
Yeah, so I don't know. I can't remember if we talked about that. That was last week. So much stuff's happened before that. But, with the PAT is to get hired in our interview process, you do the PAT without bunker gear on, but everything else. You get a time. That time is going to be used now for, your process. So if you have a high time and you're just goofing off and not cruising through it or pushing through it, we're going to be like, yep, this person ain't cutting it. They're not getting an interview.
No.
Like, that's happening this go around. It didn't happen the last one. But first week, I think we did talk about with Chief Haley that we're, first week we're putting you through our PAT, and you have a time standard, and that's what it is. And now that should be the slowest time you ever have in this department, is that first one that you've ever done in full gear. Everything else should be down from there.
Don't sandbag that one though.
Yeah, don't sandbag that one, because then you get people running past you. We kind of talked about the competition. Like, I'll try to beat you, but
Yeah.
I'm also, we're all over 40.
Yeah. Not yet. Not yet.
That's the thing.
Oh, sorry.
We're really good at identifying people that are putting in effort
Mm-hmm.
and people that are sandbagging, and it's just we
They
can't
definitely
have
show
that.
themselves.
Yeah. And let's talk about that. Like, we want, and like Chief McGee, Chief Haley, Chief Steen said, like, you're putting in an all-out effort in this class. And some people, are putting in the effort, but just aren't physically ready. And like, we can work with those people. Like, those people they can't do that task. Well, let's find a different way to do that task. But if you're putting your effort in and you are learning and wanting to be here, that's the character we want. We can build the skills. We can build,
Got to be coachable.
Yep, coachable. Exactly. That's a good thing. You got to be coachable. You got to be ready to, ready to make, the commitment, I guess is what I'm saying. You got to be ready to make the commitment to this place, and it's going to take work. It's a long 8 weeks.
It is, and then the progression, I think, lines up really well as you start with a PAT. You get your first week, get things going. You run into the SCBA emergency class or the air consumption class, and then you progressively kind of work, work through the whole 8 week of classes. And so it's a good progression of getting yourself ready, physically and mentally ready for the whole duration of the class.
Yeah, I think last class we had somebody drop 3.5 minutes, I think, on their PAT time or something like that. So huge. I mean, that's huge numbers, because we are working out still every morning, pretty much every morning, as a team. Like, when they do SCBA emergency, when they go out there and they do the workout, all the instructors are out there. It's not a sit here and push-ups. We're all out there running with you, suffering with you. There's that suffer together kind of thing. Like, it sucks for us too, but it's a workout. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to push yourself and get better. So, that's a lot of the parts and pieces to that. And I know we kind of segued out a little bit, but the PAT is huge. There's going to be a lot of stuff, hopefully getting that annually required over the next, over the next few years.
Work in progress.
It's work in progress, but here's my thing with that is the last few classes have done it this way. So they have their standard. So you go do the PAT again and you're below your standard or higher than your standard, Like, you know where you stand. If you never do the PAT again, you sit on the couch and eat bonbons and play, World of Warcraft or whatever the heck people are playing nowadays. Like, you're just wasting yourself.
Yeah.
You're not doing a service to us or the community.
Well, more and more people are meeting that standard. You're talking about 120, 130 people have gone through the recruit class in the last couple of years. What we have, the numbers fully in the street, which I don't know, but you're reaching that point where a majority of our department has been through this standard. So the expectation is there. They know it. They've been exposed to it.
Yeah.
And keep it moving.
Yep, exactly. It's huge. It's huge kind of momentum shift, because we get you guys pretty early and change, the recruits pretty early and kind of change and kind of ingrain what we want out of a recruit and how we want to recruit. Anybody can sit there and get read to, like back in the day. I don't know if anybody, you guys got read to for hours on end, but it's not knocking that. It's just, but that's not us. That's not what we do in our recruit class. We are there with you the whole way, and we're going to do the same things. And you know what? All the people that are teaching you how to do stuff have done it. You're not going to have some guy that's going to point and be like, go throw that 35-foot ladder. Yeah. And they're like, this is impossible. And then you get like Lieutenant Merwick coming out here throwing it over his head like it's going out of style. And you're like, what the?
Yeah. That's how you get buy-in. Not telling someone what to do, but doing it alongside them.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And like I said, we're going to push. Like, we push our recruits, I think, pretty hard. I mean, there's not a time, even during EMS week, we're pushing, we have EMTs that come and get hired, and we're teaching them paramedic stuff. A little above their level right now, but, like, we're pushing them. We're pushing during SCBA emergencies. We're pushing them, pretty much all the way up to that last day, and then it goes to the field, and, that's where it is. You come out with the standard, and I think the biggest thing that I like is when you guys see the effort that all these people are putting in, and then we get into fights on who goes where for the station assignments. Right. Because I can tell you from day one, people are watching the recruits. From day one, they're already picking people out, going, I want that guy. So, I don't know what that noise was, but I hope that wasn't on the recording. So what else? What else you guys want to talk about? So let's talk about mindsets and.
Yeah, I mean, they alluded to it. One of the biggest things, like when we started talking about this whole process, is like we have to be part of this too. Like, when we're working out, we're in gear. When we're doing the stair climb, we're leading the way.
That's my favorite. On the stair climb.
I got yelled at a little bit because we had to haul that giant sandbag up the stairs.
Patients weigh what patients weigh.
They do. That certainly,
Who quoted that one?
But I think that's one of the biggest components. We have people, instructors, coaches, that are willing to put in the work and sit right alongside you and help guide you and coach you up to the level we want you to be. And,
I think you just nailed it on the head. Like, I know we've talked about that, and you kind of caught yourself with the instructors versus coaches, all that kind of stuff. Like, there is a difference, and we tend to coach them, not instruct. We're not pointing a finger at you, not knock fire school, but it's kind of similar. Like, we don't do that. We threw fire school out the window, basically. I tend to. I don't know if we're going to get in trouble about it, but, you got your standard. That's your minimum, right? We don't need... I don't need to tell you what a hose is. Like, this is a fire hose. Great. Yeah. All right. Well, this is how you actually use it.
Yep. And the instructors are right there with you. Every step of the way. We're climbing the stairs. We're moving through the boxes with you. Our low alarm bell is going off just like yours is. We're all working. So
yeah, and it's a learning thing for you guys too. Like, I know it sounds weird, but I always learn something. Like, even when we do live burns, I'm out there like, oh crap, look at that. Yeah. So it's. It's keeping our skills up, not just for you guys, but for the community and for the people we serve. That's the big thing, because you don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know when you're going to have to call that Mayday. You don't know, it could happen right now. Something could happen. It could happen 20 years from now. It could happen never. You don't know. So, but yeah, what else can we talk about? Let's see, SCBA stuff.
Well, I think ultimately, this is a living class. Like, it's continuously evolving. The last iteration we incorporated the flashover survival skills. Hopefully, I'd really like to get this into a human behavior aspect where we incorporate, because it's incorporated a little bit into the lecture, but to have it built into where that's a day where we really dive into human performance, especially under stress and pressure, and how that neurologically how that affects us. Because I've been staring at this slide that I talked to the kids about, and it was from 89 to 2008 is FDNY. They pulled a bunch of data from serious injuries and line of duty deaths, and 54% of the firefighters that were found either injured or dead, 54% had their face pieces off, and of those 54%, 23 still had air left in their SCBAs.
Yeah, so why are they, kind of goes like, why are you pulling your mask off? You still, quarter of them had still air.
And so it's that
human performance side of things. Like, why is your brain making you do that? Because you're under stress, and, is that a training scar from years and years and years ago? Because we, who knows? We can't really dive into that crap, that stuff yet. So,
I mean, I think I have my own theories. I think that's just a primal fear. Claustrophobia is a primal fear. And us as humans going into these IDLHs or even in water, because it's a phenomenon with scuba divers, that being in these environments is somewhat novel, last 100 years or so.
Yeah.
That we have pathways in our brains that'll skip that prefrontal cortex where all of our rational thought processes are made, and it goes straight to alarm mode. And claustrophobia is a primal fear. Get this off my face.
Yep.
And we're not thinking about our environment, and get it off, and then.
Yeah.
So it's important that we, educate in that realm too. Of these things are possible, and maybe that's why.
Yeah.
And,
That's this class is great because it puts you in that. It stresses you mentally.
Yeah.
So, and we just keep ramping it up through the 3 days to see how you're going to react.
Right.
You're physically and mentally exhausted, and your mind says, I'm done, but you got to continue. So this is where we teach you, don't freak out. Don't rip your
calm
mask
down.
off. Calm down. Figure out what the problem is and continue.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, this is your mayday. Self-rescue is the first thing we want to do. So it's time to go. Figure your problem out. Can you get out? What's the emergency? Try to mitigate it and continue. Because you can't give up. You give up, you're dead.
And I think we see it out of at least a couple of recruits a class of like why we're stressing them out, why we're doing these silly workouts, why we're doing all these things in gears and the up downs and the bear crawls. And it usually clicks with one or two of the recruits of stressing them out, get them to that point. And then the simple like just cracking your bypass or just plugging the hole in your mask is just they can't work it out. They can't figure it out because they are just so overworked and stressed and hot and sweaty. And so they usually clicks with one or two of the recruits throughout the class. They're like, oh, this is what I got to do. So try to slow it down, try to calm down, fix this simple problem of just cracking your bypass or just shutting it down or, fixing this small hole.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's, I kind of relate that to, a little bit different, but like engine week and truck week when you put them under live fire conditions, when you put, because we go over, we try to do as much live fire as we can. And they nail it all weekend, right? And then you put fire blowing over their head coming down a Connex box, and it's like, what are you doing? Get back to the what you were taught. And then once you have that like happen once, it's like it clicks, like you said, it clicks. And you're like, oh, all right, just take a deep breath. I gotta go search this room. I'll be all right. So.
Well, even better than that is we get truck week, forcible entry. We helmets, gloves, and we teach again that progressive nature of skill development. So they've mastered. Being able to force an Edward wood frame door. Got it. All the skills. Just putting them in gear. And that Halligan becomes a Rubik's Cube to them, and it's like, what do I do? And so it shows that we really need to make sure that we're gaining that skill acquisition at each level before just saying get in your gear and go, because that's how we build training scars. And that's how you end up with people on fire ground that are unprepared to perform.
Yeah, like I think the big thing that we try to do in this recruit class is we're preparing you for, I think it's been out there, like not the craziest, that's not the right word, but the worst thing you're going to go to is a fire ground with someone trapped. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's going to be someone, hey, there's someone in there. Like that's what we're preparing you for. Everything else is, you can kind of adjust from there. Hey, we're going to go and search. Our search culture is, like we search. There's no doubt about it. If you're on rescue or an ambulance, depending on what part of the country you're from, you're searching. Like, that's our culture. You're not just sitting in there, like certain departments with a hook or with a stretcher.
Yeah.
There's part of that do like our second-due rescues and stuff. But, if you're arriving first scene, with Lieutenant Brannen, like, he's got 2 rescues. Like, those guys go to work.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a squad in a tower. Like, all those guys go to work, and we're looking for the victim inside. Even if it's everybody's fine, everybody's good, no, we still do the process. So that's kind of what we prep you for, I feel like, is someone's worst day is trapped inside a fire, and we got to go get them. If that makes sense. I don't mean to be like kind of like morbid about it, but like that's. And then we also train like this class is okay. The other worst day is now we're in trouble, and we need to get ourselves out, or somebody needs to come save us. We have to prep, and we got Lieutenant Brannen. I'm not going to call out the other squads that are here but they have RIT team competition, right? And that whole station goes and does RIT team competitions. That's just as important. Making that dedication and learning the skills. That's a whole nother level of stuff. So, let's kind of segue into what would you tell someone who is looking to come work here? One piece of advice that you would want to tell somebody that's like, hey, I want to come work for St. Johns County Fire Rescue. What would you tell them that they're like, hey, I applied, going through the process, one word of advice, or not one word, but one piece of advice. You're thinking, I smell your smoke out of your brain. Gumby, what you got? I'll go with you first.
Just come prepared to learn, be coachable, be open-minded. I think the last couple of recruit classes have shown we've hired a lot of people from outside departments.
Yeah.
And so they've already got a foundation from previous jobs. So I would say just come in and be open-minded, ready to learn a new thing, learn the St. Johns County way, and just be coachable and have a good attitude.
Nice.
I think don't stop learning. What we give them in recruit class is, you've said it, this is stuff that people pay money to go to conferences to get the same training. So you're getting a high level of training as a new person, and then once you hit the street, it's up to you to continue learning. Go to conferences, just keep learning throughout your career. A lot of us have been here 15, 20 plus years, and we're still going to conferences.
Yeah.
We're still doing hard stuff. We're still failing. We're still learning.
Yeah.
It just never stops.
Yeah, the learning never stops. When you stop learning, I think the quote is, if you stop learning, just go ahead and
hang it
leave.
up.
Yeah, just hang it up. Like, whether it's, it could be anything, right? You're always learning something. This job's multifaceted. Kind of piggyback on that, we are an 8-week fire conference, basically. Like, we've already kind of hit that nail on the head. But, and I think we talked about it last week, was, we send a lot of people to a lot of places to go get outside training. And I think that's one of the benefits of this department. Not every department does that. If you want to go to a class, if you want to go to Orlando Fire Conference, FDIC, Andy Frederick training days, or I think it's just training days now, you put in for it, and 99% of the time they send you, and you have that opportunity to go wherever you want, learn whatever you want to do, and go as far as you want. You're not here to be a number, is what I like to say. Like, we need you. We need leaders. We need people that want to develop. And, the department has you on that one, to me,
Yeah, I agree.
All right. What do you got? He's scrolling through his slideshow here. He's like, all
I
right.
already know what I got.
Confucius say.
Yeah. I'd say know your why, because when it gets miserable and it gets tough, like if you don't understand why you're here and what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to do, it's going to be that much harder. So understand why you're here and why you want to come work for St. Johns County, and more importantly, why you want to be a first responder, because there is a significant responsibility when you have other people's lives in your hands, and not just the citizens, but when you promote and you become an officer, you have other employees, other firefighters, lives in your hands, and not just like, we're going to go on a call and, I got to keep them alive. How are you going to help coach, educate, and mentor those people around you to make this place that much better? Because it doesn't just stop, like they were saying, it doesn't stop with recruit school. It's a never ending progression of development. And if it gets easy, you're not doing it right. It should always be hard. It should always be tough, because you're pushing yourself beyond what your own perceived limitations are. And that's what the people around you in the station deserve, and that's what the citizens in this county demand. And
Amen.
Amen. Justin's off his pulpit. Let's see, where else can we go? I think we're probably about 30 minutes or so into it, so probably kind of trying to wrap it up a little bit so it's not too long a process. But
You want some more fun numbers?
yeah, let's talk about some numbers, right? So, we talked about the why on the SCBAs and kind of the backing of it. And, like all our stuff we do is because of something, right? Mm-hmm. Like, unfortunately, firefighters have lost their lives or been tragically or, injured, tragically killed, whatever the case may be. But we need to learn from them. I think that's how we honor, all the way from mental health stuff, all the way up to tragic incidents. Like we learn from that, and that's how we honor them. So, and that's kind of where this was built on. So let's spin some numbers and talk about it.
So they did a meta-analysis on NIOSH line of duty reports, or line of duty, or
Meta, is that like the Facebook?
Yeah, a meta-analysis is where they just study a bunch of studies and find commonalities between the different studies.
All right, see?
So they did it
keep the doctor in.
2004 to 2009, there was 1,100 recommendations, and there were 35 noted that were high-frequency recommendations, and they're ranked. And two of the leading contributing factors to these line of duty deaths were deficiency in preparation and an inability to anticipate dynamic events during the incident.
Okay.
So preparation.
Preparation, right? Write that. Oh.
And it goes back to everything we're doing. We've said physical fitness so many times, but it's not just physical fitness; it's mental fitness too. It's we get in this habit of I'm going to go to work for 24 hours and I'm going to leave for 48, and I'm not going to do anything to improve myself on my days off. And I'm not saying you got to do 8 hours, but I mean, how many people are guilty of scrolling on their phones for 2 hours a day on their day off when they could have taken 30 minutes to educate themselves and make them better, not just for them, but again for the people around them. And this is a dynamic environment. I mean, look at the building construction differences when they had the supply issues from COVID. And especially us growing,
they're popping up houses, I think, pretty much every second. I think we just grew a whole nother neighborhood in this whole podcast.
Yeah. 3 to 5 story apartment buildings on every corner.
Yeah. And I think prep, right? Like that was that number one? That was the number one thing? Or like preparation?
It was one of the 35 high frequency.
So being prepared, that's our job in that 8-week program, is to prepare you for, your career, your next 30 years, 35 years, whatever you decide with your retirement. And if we don't get that foundation built, like it's not going to be there. And if, I think, I'll just go ahead and say it, we're kind of in the honest trust tree right now, is like, if other people aren't doing that, like they're failing you. I'll just call it what it is. If there's other recruit classes out there, you're looking at other departments, if they're not preparing you for the next 30 years or what could happen, like that's a failure to you, where, I'm not trying to just toot our horn, but like we really invest in preparing you for that someone's trapped or you're trapped kind of situation, or, the house fire, cardiac arrest patient, the drowning. I mean, we're just talking specifically fire stuff, but we're all over the place. We have marine rescue options. We got, there's all kinds of stuff. So,
well, I think you look at it, and it's when I started, like I was motivated by guilt. What if one day I went to a call and I wasn't able to perform because I didn't practice my skills and I didn't train and I didn't educate myself, and I had to live with that for the rest of my life? Like I could have saved that person had I tried a little harder on my days off, or on at the station. It was hot. I didn't want to get my gear. It was reading's boring. All these things. It goes back to that responsibility, and now being in the position that I'm in, and saying, and they'll probably agree, is that trying to pass it on. Like we've got to go train so that the people that I work with don't have to experience that themselves. Like I want to put them in a position to be successful, and so they don't have to live with that what if for the rest of their life.
Yeah. I think that's all very good stuff. What else you got? Anything? Want to add anything, LT? I say LT, and I'm like looking in the general direction. Like all three of you guys, you've had enough now.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good as you talk about building that program through the 8 weeks, but then also like, these instructors are sprinkled throughout the department, and you're talking about, making sure that they train, and that it's their responsibility too. But we're adding more instructors each year. These programs are getting bigger. We are doing it, and then the guys from our stations are around us are coming in like, I want to be a part of this. And so that we bring them up, we, standards, bringing them up to the standard of, the coaching and the instructors. And so then they get in there, but we're all around the department. So when they leave recruit class, we're on shifts, different stations. And so they still get immersed in that training, brought in from the battalion training or, whatever it looks like. So they continue that on.
I do like that aspect too. We bring in a lot of cadre from around the department to come in and help with all these modules. And that gets insight to watch the recruits, but also the recruits start learning you guys. And then when you go out to the field, everybody's sprinkled in. And then we do have a nice, elevator or escalator, whatever you want to call it, to, if you really buy into the SCBA emergencies / confidence, what's it called? Emergency / confidence.
Just give me a fourth day.
Yeah, whatever. We'll make up some crazy name.
Yeah.
Like if that's something you become really passionate about, there's a way to work your way towards that cadre and be part of that cadre and then be accepted by that cadre.
Yeah.
It's not just you're going to walk in and one day you're like, I'm a year into this job, I want to go work SCBA emergencies. We've had some people that really buy in and they're out there teaching, year and a half, 2 years in, but they're kind of, I won't say interns, but they're kind of baby cadres and they do all the grunt work and they learn the process and then boom, they're an instructor and they're helping us out and but that's progression for us because one day we're not going to be here and we need to leave this place better than we found it.
Absolutely.
And, I think that's kind of huge that we have that way to build. I mean, I can think of 100 people right now that are probably part of all the cadres that are, maybe not 100, but maybe 50. But I want to say that we take everybody. I mean, it's like you.
You make great points because it's just like leadership. There's not a lot of people that just have that innate ability to be a leader. It's a skill that needs to be learned and fostered. Same thing with coaching and educating and being, part of this is that exposure to this is how we're going to train people. We're not just drill sergeants out here. And those are the people we're trying to bring around because one day we're not going to be here and this thing's going to get passed off to somebody else.
Yep.
And it's going to get passed on to somebody that's really going to take it, buy into it, and keep continuously building this thing into something that can be better every iteration.
I think it's another good point is we talked about feedback that we get from all of the classes. Every week we put a Survey Monkey or whatever out, and we really do take the feedback and we change stuff. I remember doing the first couple ones and we were way off on what people wanted, and then we tailored all the class. It's every month. We change it, it's like freaking perfect, and we're like, this is awesome. And then we get like a little nugget of feedback, we're like, oh, we're changing that. It's a good idea. And that's where it's a two-way street for, the recruits that are coming in. They get to give us feedback. And if you say, I hated every bit of it, all right, well, guess what? Maybe our mindsets aren't lining up a little bit, or you're here for the wrong reasons, because we do have fun. It's hard work, but we do have fun and we do have a good time. And we enjoy it. Like I enjoy it a little bit too much. Probably.
It's a long 8 weeks, but it's always fun every time we get done with the class and you look back and
graduation night and everybody's happy and get good assignments or you get a okay assignment. It's kind of is what it is. Assignments always change.
Recruits at one station.
Yeah, I know. Station 5 would want all 30 recruits, but maybe not all 30, but. All right. Anything else? Any last minute drops before you kind of sign off and kick it to whoever's coming in for the next part 3? I don't know who that's going to be. I think it might be the engine cadre. They're going to talk about water and how it's the only thing that puts out fire. Mm-hmm. So, you got anything? You got anything extra?
I've talked enough.
Yeah, we're going to bring him back for his own separate podcast. We'll call it the Wednesday with Justin Dailey show. Mm-hmm. Get it? We'll call it the Daily Show.
Oh, hey.
Oh, I don't know. That's trademarked, I think.
Yeah. I think, don't they already do that?
Yeah.
Jon Stewart or whatever?
Yeah, Jon Stewart did it. Yeah, I don't know. We'll do something. But you guys got anything? You want to add anything? Mm-hmm. Any last minute advice? Any last minute quotes? All right. Well, that's easy. All right. Well, continue on part 3. I don't know who we're going to have in, but it'll be another part of the cadre, and we'll kind of spitball their week and talk about their stuff and get their nuggets. But till then, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.